thrilled about it, but, you know, it's better than a blank. Yep. Speaking of better than a blank, Sulphur Falls, Thing in the Ice, turn 2 play for Bianchi. Ooh, and here is Eidolon of the Great Revel for Logan Murphy.
Pretty nice heads-up play by Bianchi here, not blocking with the Thing in the Ice on the Swift Spear. Any 3-point burn spell at that point would be able to take it down, even a 2-point burn spell, but not that those exist too much in Logan Murphy's burn deck.
Yep, and it's a matchup where you want to cross the finish line quickly, so you do want to maintain that Thing in the Ice. So, as you said, no block. Bianchi's at 18. No third land drop, though. Logan Murphy now is going to go to work. Here's a Goblin Guide as well as a Wooded Foothills pre-combat. Should be taking 2 off of his Eidolon. Here's a Remand, so both players will take 2 here.
I'll tell you this much for free. I have never beaten burn when I was playing Remand in my deck.
It's tough.
It's
not what you want to see.
It's really hard.
So Murphy should be at 18 here. I believe Bianchi falling to 16.
Yeah, we'll get that update in just a moment. And now Logan shoving in with these 2 creatures, threatening a Searing Blaze, I believe, in hand that would take care of the Thing in the Ice, but no blocks from Bianchi. Post-combat here, fetching, it looks like.
Fetching down to 17.
This might be a second Eidolon of the Great Revel, which would spell doom for this Blue Moon deck.
Right, makes it really difficult to transform that Thing in the Ice. But yeah,
it's 12 damage to do it. It's not bad.
That's it.
Yeah. No, I mean, Bianchi could untap, play a Mountain here, and cast something like Anger of the Gods, which there's 1 copy in the main deck.
And you're exactly right. Second Eidolon of the Great Revel. That'll knock Murphy to 15, but he's got to be happy about this board state.
All right, that's a quick fetch.
Yeah.
We might have the Anger of the Gods.
Yeah, Bianchi to 12. Scalding Card could not hit the graveyard fast enough. There's Basic Mountain. 3 lands tapped. That is Anger.
Ooh.
Thing in the Ice down to 2 counters. Get those Eidolons out of there.
You do take 4 damage here down to 8. So even though this is a huge swing in the favor of the Blue Moon deck, it's not out of the woods yet. 8 life is not very much. That's 3 burn spells or 2 copies of Boros Charm to the Domski.
Right. Also, relevantly, Murphy at 15. It would take more than 2 connections from an Awoken Horror to close this game, even if that transformed next turn.
I mean, that's fair, but I think that's pretty easy for Bianchi to find something like a Lightning Bolt along the way there to do that last point of damage.
And, well, here it is anyway. Murphy's going to do it for him. Scalding Tarn cracks that to 14.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Logan here, with how quickly he's playing this, a double Searing Blaze is coming.
Ooh.
Or at the very least, 1 Searing Blaze plus a way to finish off the Thing in the Ice.
Yeah. Yeah, if you have the 1, it makes a lot of sense to get that off the table.
Yeah, it is the only thing that is threatening to kill you, and it does it quickly, so you would buy yourself roughly 4 or 5 turns if you got it off the battlefield now to find that 1 extra burn spell that you used to finish it off.
And Searing Blaze is floating towards the front of the hand. Starts with Goblin Guide, though.
If he doesn't block, this might actually just be lethal with Searing Blaze plus Lightning Bolters or Lava Spike.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to see if Bianchi blocks or not. It looks like he took it.
Yeah, there's an attack. Electrolyze revealed to the Goblin Guide trigger. Bianchi falls to 6. There's Searing Blaze. That'll put him at 3. Does Murphy have it? No, he's just got to pass.
Not yet.
3 is still not a comfortable life total.
It's definitely not. And while the Blue Moon deck does have a lot of counter spells, they're usually not super cheap. They're things like Cryptic Command or Remand. And that just means Logan can overload the Blue Moon deck's mana at some point and throw a flurry at the Dome and finish it off.
Right. And you mentioned earlier, having Remand in your deck, not ideal against Burn. It's not a permanent solution to anything.
And not only is it not a permanent solution, but most of the cards from Burn cost 1 or 2 mana. And something like Remand is particularly good against cards that cost 3 or more mana.
Right.
Any matchup you play against that has an abundance of 1 mana cards, your Remands are going to be at basically an all-time low as far as strength is concerned.
Yeah. And that's largely why the card really fell off in the modern format in general.
I actually like this play from Bianchi. It's kind of a Hail Mary. If Logan perhaps made a mistake and got stuck with something like Boros Charm in hand, it's possible that he ends up getting destroyed this turn.
Yeah.
But he has the land and the Searing Blaze number 2, and that's 3 damage.
That'll do it. Blood Moon not good enough to stop that one, and we'll be heading to some sideboarded games.
Yeah, it is no surprise to me that Burn took down game 1 there. I don't even think Logan's draw was particularly backbreaking or good, and Bianchi drew his one of Anger of the Gods in a spot where he absolutely needed to draw a one of. So even though Logan was able to take down game 1, I actually don't even think you got to see the full strength of his deck.
Right. So Bianchi's going to need some help from the sideboard. He's our Blue Moon player. So what does he have? He has 2 Ancestral Vision, 2 Dispel, 2 Ceremonious Rejection, 2 more Anger of the Gods, a Surgical Extraction, a Negate, a Disdainful Stroke, a Rending Volley, and a Braid, a Vendilion Click, and a Keranos God of Storm. So he's going to be working with more scrappy tools. What do you like here?
I like basically anything that can interact with a burn deck and is also cheap. Things like Dispel are pretty good. I don't mind something like Anger of the Gods or a Braid just as ways to clear annoyances like Goblin Guides or whatever. If you have bad cards in your main deck, like your remands, getting those out of your deck is priority number 1 for things that are reasonably useful. So I don't mind that. The Negate is obviously coming in. And you might want something like Vendilion Click just to start applying pressure. It is vulnerable to things like Searing Blaze, but there's a good chance that Logan actually cuts the Searing Blazes because they don't actually kill anything straight up except for the Snapcaster Mages from game 1.
Sure. So the plan's largely to have a little bit more permission and try to get some damage in.
Exactly.
All right, and on the burn side of things for Logan Murphy, we have 4, count them, 4 Rest in Peace, 3 Smash to Smithereens, 2 Exquisite Firecraft, 2 Ensnaring Bridge, 2 Core Firewalker, and 2 Path to Exile.
This is actually kind of sweet. The Core Firewalkers, I think, are subtly very good against this Blue Moon deck. Once it hits the battlefield, the only really way to clear it is to transform Thing in the Ice, or just block him with Thing in the Ice. But as we saw in Game 1, Alex Bianchi doesn't want to block with that 0-4. It is one of the easiest ways for him to steal games. And if Logan plays something like Core Firewalker, there's a good chance it just ends up dealing like 8 damage over the course of the game. Obviously, Snapcaster Mage can block it, but as long as Logan Murphy is prepared with things like Searing Blaze in his deck still, he should be okay. Other than that, I particularly love Exquisite Firecraft against any deck that has Cryptic Command. But I wouldn't bother with something like Rest in Peace, simply because Snapcaster Mage is not a good enough reason to attack the graveyard.
Yeah. Biggest concern would be over sideboarding here. He has a couple good tools, and he wants to keep it pretty limited.
Yeah, there's a chance Path to Exile comes in because Thing in the Ice is the easiest route to victory. But I could totally see Logan just being super low to the ground, wanting every spell to deal damage, and just hoping that it's good enough in the face of a Thing in the Ice.
All right, for everyone playing at home, if you're looking for an opportunity to get your game on at a store near you, why not check out Star City Games Game Night? Come check it out, get a pack of sleeves and a Creature Collection token for January.
PURRDOUKEN!
Nailed it.
Got him.
Yeah, the Street Fighter reference, as it were.
Yeah, I love me some Creature Collection. You can pick up some sweet sleeves or tokens at your local game night. If you don't have a local game night, you can ask your LGS owner to go to go.starcitygames.com/game night for more information, and maybe they can partner up with us and have a good time.
Yeah, get in time, check out some of these great tokens.
All right, what do we got for February?
We have YETI Steady Go.
Nice. Honestly, I love it.
This is a really nice one. Have you seen March yet?
March? No, but I want to talk about YETI Steady Go for a second.
Right,
we'll get to March in a second. Okay, first of all, it's on a sled, right?
It's like got its life on its back.
That's true.
It's like moving, you know?
Okay. Yeah, it's great. It's also a beast, which is unfortunately will probably supplant me as a beast token, which I don't love.
Yeah.
I hate it now.
In fairness, that beast token's like 10 years old now.
No, it's not. Wow, it's not that close. It is closer to 10 years than 5 years, I think. So that's
I believe
nice.
that.
Okay, let's take a look at March while I'll be sad.
VENI, VIDI, ARMADICI. I came, I saw, I armadillo.
I'll say this, whoever thought of this should get a raise. If I was the boss, this person's getting a raise.
Did you think of this? Is
no.
The 1/1 Sand Warrior token, that comes up just all the time if you're playing Commander with Creature from Legends.
Harkonnen, maybe? I don't know. I forgot which one.
I got the art.
I get it in Momir Vig, Momir Basic all the time.
Yeah.
Because there aren't a ton of 7s.
Right.
But it's Naya colors, 7 mana. When it enters the battlefield, you get a bunch of Sand Warriors equal to, I think, the number of lands you control, maybe.
That sounds right.
And then when it leaves the battlefield, all your tokens get exiled.
But yeah, all those great
Sand Army.
tokens and more as they come down. Check out go.starseagames.com/game night.
All right, looks like we're underway here for game 2.
Turn 1, Flooded Strand for Alex Bianchi. For Logan Murphy, Basic Mountain, Goblin Guide.
Yeah, good chance this one's attacking no matter what, but not so sure it's going to deal damage.
Reveal is Jace the Mind Sculptor. Bianchi probably not super interested in drawing that one. Cracks the Flooded Strand to 19. We'll find out if he has a removal spell. He doesn't. It's Basic Island.
All right, going to take 2 more down to 17 here. And then probably cast this Opt, digging for some way to interact with this Goblin Guide to make sure that it doesn't do any more free points of damage over the next few turns.
Yeah, minimally a Thing in the Ice as a blocker would be nice. Wants to get some removal spells online, though.
Yeah, and don't count out using Snapcaster Mage as effectively a Doomblade. Whenever I'm playing against Burn, you want to protect your life total as much as possible. And even though you're losing that value, sometimes Snapcaster Mage can be a liability. The casting the spell, basically 2 different spells with it, sometimes is really bad against Eidolon of the Great Revel, and you're missing out on preventing that 2 damage from just blocking Goblin Guide. The only card that really punishes you is a full-powered Searing Blaze on turn 2.
Yeah. Yeah, sometimes you just got to ambush Viper. It's not pretty, but that's one of the modes on the card. Land for turn is going to be a Scalding Tarn for Bianchi. He'll fall to 16. Second Basic Island. Here's Thing in the Ice. He does have a Blood Moon hovering in his hand.
Yeah, fetching up that second island. I think he left Blood Moon in as a way to cut Logan off of white mana, since there are no basic planes in the burn decks. Blood Moon actually shutting down effectively 8 cards with Boros Charm and Lightning Helix, and then also cutting out potential sideboard options. Is not that bad, and is probably better than something like Remand, just as a card that cycles for 2 mana.
Over on Murphy's side, Wooded Foothills is a land for turn. Goblin Guide comes across, reveals Scalding Tarn. Bianchi will pick that one up. The Guide connects, though. Bianchi's at 14.
I gotta say, I don't love this no blocking thing. I mean, maybe I'm old-fashioned, but I feel like the only card that really blows you out of the water is a Searing Blaze. And everything else, you prevent 2 from the Goblin Guide and 3 or so from the burn spell. Just block!
Yeah. I mean, you can't just take damage all day, right?
I mean, he is.
You can only take damage till you go to 0.
Yeah.
Crack of the Wooded Foothills, Sacred Foundry, Murphy down to 17, and here is Eidolon of the Great Revel. I believe what Bianchi was setting up is he has a Dispel in hand. He wanted to try to insulate the Thing in the Ice to block on this turn, but he's getting pretty badly punished by this Eidolon. He's got to clean that up first.
No, that's not a bad idea. Using Dispel to protect the Thing in the Ice after you block is certainly fine, and with Thing in the Ice being one of your main routes to victory, that is a solid plan. If Alex plans on winning this game and getting back into this match, it's going to revolve around Thing in the Ice, so not putting it up for grabs is fine.
And there's that Scalding Tarn, but that's going to be it for Bianchi's turn. Not a great spot to cast that Blood Moon. Back on Murphy, Bloodstained Mire pre-combat, and here comes Eidolon Goblin Guide. Should see a trigger on that here. Another Scalding Tarn. Bianchi will pick that up. See if he finally wants to block.
Yeah, I think Bolt before blocks is coming. Bolt on the Eidolon of the Great Revel, and then a block on the Goblin Guide with Dispel backup for Searing Blaze, or I guess Lightning Helix or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, here's a crack of the Scalding Tarn down to 13. Certainly looks like a Lightning Bolt.
Yeah, the Bolt here on the Eidolon is going to...
Ooh, Basic Island.
I am wrong.
Must not have a Bolt available.
Available.
I'm never going to change, Todd.
It's fine. Me either.
All right, here's Snapcaster Mage. Trigger on Eidolon. Bianchi down to 11. Yeah, the plan is just to trade with his Ambush Viper.
Yeah, I would be surprised here if Logan actually lets blocks happen, but that's probably going to free up Thing in the Ice to block for sure. But with the Dispel in hand from Bianchi, there's a good chance that both get to block no matter what.
Yeah, lining up the blocks, Thing in the Ice on Goblin Guide, Eidolon versus Snapcaster Mage, and yeah, damage happens.
I think Bianchi is very happy with that, with the opt coming from the graveyard, EOT. Logan may be sniffing out this Dispel, though, and Bianchi might not bite. Bianchi just might not cast the opt in order to hold up that Dispel for Thing in the Ice protection.
Yeah. It's an interesting decision point here for Murphy, though, to be fair, the burn deck is lean enough where he might just get to have his cake and eat it. Here's Lightning Helix, looks like it's aimed at the Thing in the Ice.
Yeah, if I were Logan, I think I would have liked to cast this with the Eidolon still on the battlefield. If you're going to cast it, before your opponent casts their opt, then I like casting the Helix with the Eidolon in play. Sure, you deal yourself 2 damage, but if Alex does anything in response, it's going to force 2 damage to him as well.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Your life total on the burn side is not what the game's about. Ooh, correction, that Lightning Helix looks like it was upstairs.
Okay.
Here's a crack of the Bloodstained Mire, basic mountain. So Bianchi's at 8, Murphy's at 20.
And this is also another reason that maybe you should block with Thing in the Ice. At this point in the game, we're already so far behind that Logan has no interest in killing the Thing in the Ice. He's just throwing everything to the dome.
Yeah. And when you get to just trade with Snapcaster Mage that didn't have real impact on the battlefield otherwise, the burn deck is pretty comfortable just throwing some damage upstairs.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's what they do best. Everything does 3. It's fine.
And here's a Suspend on Riftbolt. So that means the coast is clear for Bianchi to flash back this opt. Thing in the Ice down to 3 counters.
As far as Thing in the Ice decks go, I think the Blue Moon deck is much more defensive than something like the Arclight Phoenix deck popularized by Ross Merriam. You also don't have nearly as many cheap instant sorceries to turn it on. No Manamorphose, no Gut Shot. It's a lot harder to transform. Normally, the Blue Moon deck is very good at utilizing the 0-4 body defensively. And here you're really seeing the fear come into play from Alex Bianchi's side. Doesn't want his Thing in the Ice to die, and now he's going to die.
Yep. Opt did scry to the top. Sulphur Falls is the land for turn, but it is a very precarious situation, as you mentioned. Second Thing in the Ice.
Yeah. Dispel at the ready, so probably not dead next turn. Unless Logan just has a flurry of 1-mana burn spells.
We'll find out exactly what he has as we go back to Murphy. Riftbolt comes off to spend. That's upstairs. Bianchi to 5.
If Logan has land drops here, I might just play nothing, like land go, and just wait for Bianchi to start trying to transform his things in the ice. You want to try to hit your opponent when they're very low on mana. And right now, with Bianchi on 4, he doesn't have a lot to work with right now.
Here's Wooded Foothills. There's Lava Spike. Bianchi down to 5. Wait, the Riftbolt should have put him to 5, so 2 should be the life total there.
Yeah, and if this Grim Lavamancer survives until next turn, that's going to be threatening lethal.
And we haven't seen a Lightning Bolt from Bianchi yet.
Yeah, I'm not convinced he has one. He's had Blood Moon in hand for a while. That's what I thought was the Lightning Bolt earlier. He drew Cryptic Command. That is technically an answer.
Yikes.
Okay, Harvest Pyre for 1 here. That's a clean answer to this Grim Lavamancer.
Yep, that'll tick these things down. 2 on 1, 3 on the other.
I want to point out that Alex Bianchi could have actually cast his Harvest Pyre during the end step. Chose not to make sure he could hold up Dispel and not die to an instant speed burn spell.
Yep. On Murphy's side, there was no attack with the Goblin Guide. You don't want to give up the trigger. That makes a lot of sense, especially against 2 Thing in the Ices.
Yeah, and if you're not hitting them with Searing Blaze, then no real reason to attack there. If you're planning on throwing all the burn at the dome.
Steam Vents tap, land the turn for Bianchi. And Murphy's going to crack that Wooded Foothills down to 18.
What is it, Murphy's Law? Everything that can go wrong will go wrong?
Will go wrong, yeah.
Yeah.
You got a Searing Blaze?
We're going to change that to Bianchi's Law.
Okay. Yeah, there's a lot that's not going his way. Dispel against Lava Spike Riftbolt. That's a feel bad.
Yeah. I mean, Logan feels like he knows he knows what's going on, right? He's kind of feeling out this Dispel. He played a lot of his instant sorceries last turn. Basically, at this point, just trying to use up all of Bianchi's mana while he's tapped out, hoping to peel a 2 damage burst spell right now and take it home.
Yeah, there was an end-step Skullcrack that was met by Dispel, Thing in the Ices on 1 and 2 counters. Murphy draws and doesn't look like it was anything. He just had to pass back. Now Bianchi back with Cryptic Command mana and a little surplus. Basic Island, 6 mana now at the ready.
Well, drew a Ripbolt for turn. I think suspending this is a bit safer than casting it. But Bianchi does have access to Cryptic Command in hand.
Yeah, it's really tough. You can cast it, suspend it, or just do neither. If you suspend it, then you get to eat the counter spell on your next upkeep, and you really hope you draw a burn spell there, right?
Right.
If you don't, you can get kind of punished. So it's a pretty interesting decision on the burn side.
Yeah, Logan's trying to figure out what can I play around. And I think suspending helps play around Cryptic Command because it forces Alex to basically sit on his hands for another full turn, holding up that 4 mana. Probably not progressing these Thing in the Ices too well. And maybe ultimately buying Logan a few more turns from these Awoken Horror attacks on the next few turns.
Yeah, with the Things just very ready to transform, he does have to be mindful. Very likely that he's dead in 2 turns.
Right.
So that's an incentive to be a little proactive. He does suspend the Rift Bolt here. That'll be all. We are back to Bianchi. No end-step action, so if he transforms the Things, it's going to be at sorcery speed here.
Yeah, he has that Cryptic Command that he could use kind of willy-nilly to transform a Thing in the Ice, but that would leave him vulnerable to this Rift Bolt on the following turn without a real answer.
Plays a Scalding Tarn, passes back. The Rift Bolt comes off suspend, and just 2 mana tapped. Here's a Remand on the Rift Bolt. That's going to transform one Thing in the Ice and leave the other on 1 counter. Murphy will pick up the Goblin Guide.
Now this may actually leave Bianchi dead to a 1 mana burn spell off the top. With Cryptic Command at the ready, he can only really cast 1 counter spell here. Oh, Grim Lavamancer. It's not really an answer. It's not really the card he needs here because at any point, Bianchi can transform that other Thing in the Ice.
Right, just reset that. Not a concern at all. And he's just going to cast the Rift Bolt. Got to figure Bianchi's going to Cryptic Command this.
Yeah, has to unless he has another counter spell. Just a counter draw seems reasonable.
That'll transform the second Thing in the Ice, so now there are 2 Awoken Horrors.
Yeah, this is a heads-up play by Logan, though, forcing that transformation before casting Grim Lavamancer. Now that Lavamancer is lethal unless Bianchi can find some answer right now.
Yeah, so deploys Grim Lavamancer. I believe that Bianchi found Jace the Mind Sculptor.
Attacking with both is quite dangerous. That Goblin Guy looming, you might not have a blocker.
And yeah, he just decides to attack with 1 Awoken Horror. Murphy will take that. He'll go to 11. And here's a big tap. Looks like Jace the Mind Sculptor is the only answer he has for that Grim Lavamancer.
Yeah, Jace the Mind Sculptor minus, I think, is the necessary play to not die. But I don't like it. I don't like it very much at all.
Ooh, and he might be starting with Blood Moon here. He saw he moved the Scalding Tarn to the side. He's thinking about it.
I don't mind that play. Shutting off Boros Charm and the like here is not bad. And you keep yourself from being overly vulnerable to the white burn spells and the sideboard cards. Even a Path to Exile here would be quite good from Logan Murphy's side of things.
Yeah, plays a Sulfur False Return. There's Blood Moon. Turns off those white burn spells. Here's Jace the Mind Sculptor. That's going to minus on the Grim Lavamancer.
Yeah, and now we have a blocker for the Goblin Guide, and Path to Exile doesn't help. So it's going to need to be a burn spell right now.
Right, draw for Murphy. It's Boros Charm.
No.
That Blood Moon is doing its job.
Yeah, that's how we it's called doing work. That's not a legal cast.
Yeah.
We're going to rewind that one.
Can't Boros Charm here. You can cast Goblin Guide and Grim Lavamancer.
Honestly, I don't blame Logan Murphy here for trying to cast that Boros Charm. Blood Moon's not really super good against your mostly mono red deck.
Yeah.
So
probably doesn't come up a lot.
No, that's for sure. Spreading Seas, on the other hand,
yeah, that one can be brutal.
Also doesn't come up a lot, but,
right. Yeah,
but it's significantly better.
Yeah, there's Grim Lavamancer and Goblin Guide. Here's a Lightning Bolt on the Lavamancer. Jace can clean up the Goblin Guide. The Woken Horrors could come across. Murphy sees that. He's going to concede. We're going to game 3.
Yeah. Just great play from Alex Bianchi, recognizing where he's at basically at all times. Using that remand to basically cycle, countering the Rift Bolt, I think was heads up. Basically forcing Logan into a spot where he has to choose to hard cast it and maybe die on the or maybe die on the following turn to the Woken Horse plus some Lightning Bolts.
Yeah, Bianchi did something that I really liked there on that Blood Moon Jace the Mind Sculptor turn. It's a situation where some players can play coy if you leave up blue mana, but you can't afford to bluff a counterspell against a deck that just, when their spells resolve, you lose the game.
Right. I mean, there's also this thing about bluffing where it doesn't work if your opponent has no other choice. And when you're threatening 2 copies of a Woken Horror coming into the red zone, you leave them without a choice. They just have to cast their spells.
Right.
All right, let's take a look at the sideboard here and see if either player is going to make any changes. I think Logan, after seeing Blood Moon after sideboard, might actually try to trim down on some white cards. If he was bringing in Core Firewalker, I suspect he will not be bringing that in anymore. Maybe the same for Path to Exile and just relying on his mostly red spells to do the job. I don't suspect he would cut anything like Lightning Helix or Boros Charm and just utilizing those as early as possible before something like Blood Moon could come down and be effectual. As far as Bianchi is concerned, I think he's going to keep his deck as is for the most part. I don't foresee him bringing anything in that we didn't talk about last game.
Should have made 2 Ouija shifts. But, yeah, if you're enjoying this week's broadcast and just the SCG Tour in general, make sure to check out our YouTube page. We also have Versus Live, Commander Versus, Flashback, relatively new feature. That's a lot of fun to watch. You've been a feature on that one.
I have. It was great.
Best of moments from the SCG Tour, and so much more. YouTube.com/StarCityGames. Ton of stops this year, even adding more content all the time. You can't watch it all.
I mean,
that's a challenge.
Yeah, please do watch it all the time. No, I actually watch quite a few of the videos that Star City Games produces. I am part of many of them from Versus Live. Russ Murray and myself pumping out a lot of great content for y'all. Next week, make sure to tune in to that. You can see the replays, of course, on YouTube. But we do those every Tuesday and Thursday, 1 p.m. Eastern Time on twitch.tv/SCG Tour, the channel you're on right now watching.
Yeah, and if you like what you see, we would love it if you'd subscribe.
Yeah, it's free. Unlike Twitch subscription, which costs $5, which we don't.
Which is worth it.
It is worth it.
Well worth it.
But we understand that it's $5 and that's fine.
That's true. Not everybody has $5.
It is worth it, and we would love it if you did.
It's good value.
But the YouTube subscription is free. You
just click a button.
Yeah, and it makes us look good.
That's true.
You know, the more we got, the better we look. Anyway, let's go ahead and get back to the match. Looks like both players drawing their opening hands here. Let's see if VENI have taken a mulligan while we are away. I do not believe so just yet.
Well, this is one of my least favorite spots to be in Modern. Bianchi is on the draw, playing a Snapcaster Mage deck against Burn.
That's a yikes.
Very stressful.
I know I use that word a lot. Most of the time I use it too much, but in this case, it's apt.
Strongly agree. Inspiring Vantage, Goblin Guide. That'll attack. Electrolyzes a reveal. Bianchi to 18. Does he have a Lightning Bolt this game?
Well, he put a mountain to the front of his hand. I'm assuming he does. If he plays the mountain, it's like 100%.
It'd be like pretty weird to play the mountain and not Lightning Bolt.
It's like pi. It's as close as you can get to being true without actually being true. If that makes sense.
I follow.
Yeah,
it's a math thing.
Yeah. There it is. If he doesn't have a Lightning Bolt, I quit.
Basic mountain.
I'll leave in the middle of the broadcast.
Bolt. Not even messing around.
That's how confident I am.
He did not wait for the Goblin Guide to attack to trigger. Any read on that?
So the card Boros Charm has an alternate mode of give my creatures indestructible. That is a potential concern. I do like waiting on the attack for the most part, but there is some value in making sure that your removal spells remove the threats that they're targeting, because the Blue Moon deck doesn't have a ton of answers for these creatures.
That's reasonable. Speaking of concerns, though, second Inspiring Vantage, Eidolon of the Great Revel was the play for Murphy. Bianchi just had to tap Steam Vents on turn 2. And now Murphy is deploying Scalding Tarn and a Goblin Guide. He'll go to 18, but he's attacking for 4.
Yeah, and it doesn't look like Bianchi has another copy of Lightning Bolt, so this damage is essentially free, and every spell that Bianchi plays that costs 3 or less mana, going to be dealing him some more damage here from that Eidolon of the Great Revel.
Steam Vents is a reveal. Bianchi will draw that one. Not too keen on taking damage from it in this matchup, though.
Yeah, the fetch lands, the shock lands, it all adds up. It's really the only matchup in Modern where you start to really feel how much damage the mana bases deal to you. You know, normally you play against a combo deck or Infect or just a normal control deck or mid-range deck, and your life total, it matters. Like, at some point, your opponent can kill you, but you don't really feel it.
Right.
When your opponent starts off with Goblin Guide and you look down and your hand is Breeding Pool, Steam Vents, Snapcaster Mage, and you're just like, opt. Like, you're dead.
That's a yikes for me.
Yeah, there it is. You're getting it.
Murphy will fetch to 17. There's a Lightning Helix. He'll take 2, gain 3, back to 18. Bianchi will fall to 11.
Yeah, and I like playing these burn spells while the shields are down. If Logan had something like Boros Charm, I would much prefer him to use that. But basically, you just want to cast your more expensive instance right now while Dispel is not at the ready.
Yeah. It's also nice that you have your creatures that can force some red spells to be cast more proactively. Then when you untap, you have some burn spells where the counter magic might be down.
Right.
Really good sequencing for Murphy here.
Yeah, well, it looks like Bianchi picked up a real nice one in Magma Spray. Going to go ahead and main phase that, take care of the Eidolon so it can unlock something like Opt or Serum Visions more than likely.
Eidolon triggers, Bianchi to 9. Eidolon is exiled.
Looks like we got a good match going here. It's 1-1s across the board.
I actually don't know if I've ever seen that.
I don't think I have either.
It's all tied up 1 to 1 to 1 to 1 to 1 to 1.
Nice.
Nailed it. Basic Island for Bianchi.
National Treasure, Ryan Overturf. He's fueled by spite and coffee.
Put that on my headstone. Goblin Guy's coming back across.
Yeah, my guess is we're taking 2 here, but Bianchi has the option here to cast Opt and dig for another copy of Lightning Bolt to stifle this damage from Logan Murphy.
Yeah, both players know that there's a Steam Vents in Bianchi's hand. It suggests that there's some plan for 2 mana on this turn.
Oh, for sure. If it was only 1 mana, it would have been. Or sorry, if he had no 2 mana plays or nothing to do with both mana, very likely he should have just played Steam Vents for the turn where the shields were mostly down.
Yeah. Goblin Guy trigger reveals Serum Visions. Bianchi will opt that one to the bottom, but he's taking 2 and going to 7.
Alternatively, Bianchi could have main phased the Opt on his turn to see if he wanted to play his land tapped or untapped.
Yeah.
Could have been a potential option.
The hedge seems to be if the top card's a land, he just gets to free roll it off the Goblin Guide.
Right.
But it was an interesting decision for sure.
All right, well, it looks like we're going for lethal here, or as close to it as you can get without having it.
Right, Lightning Bolt, Skullcrack, Bianchi down to 1. So any Scalding Tarns are going to be turned off. That Steam Vents will definitely be entering tapped if that's the play. So very unlikely that Bianchi will have Cryptic Command, and he's got to do something about that Goblin Guide, even if he's going to get to that stage in the game.
Yeah, I think he has Vendilion Click in hand. I think the only way he survives is if Logan attacks and has 2 lands in hand when Goblin Guide hits the battlefield.
So there's Steam Vents tapped. Pass back to Murphy. What does he got?
I'll Electrolyze at the ready. Electrolyze can do it, but that leaves him at 1 life with 2 cards in hand from Logan, and, that's never good against Burn.
No. Goblin Guide attacks, trigger, Basic Island. Bianchi will draw that one. Looks like there's a Snapcaster Mage in the hand as well. So option, either way, dealing with the Goblin Guide here will tap him out. Yeah. Outside of, Snapcaster Mage, no flashback. Maybe has a Dispel to leave up.
Yeah, could be.
And here is that Snapcaster Mage.
I don't know if you know this, Ryan, but I've actually had this exact nightmare.
Okay.
Being at 1 against an attacking Goblin Guide with only Ops and
Electrolyzes.
And, opponent has multiple cards in hand.
I live this nightmare a lot. Targets opt, blocks the Goblin Guide.
It's optimistic, but it's necessary. If you want to get out of this game alive, you have to go for it.
Well, here's Lightning Helix, but I do like the play. But that's going to go 2-1 in Murphy's favor. And it looks like on the back tables, Andrew Miller did seal things up for our burn squad.
All right, so that's a clean 2-1 for Andrew Miller and Logan Murphy. We should have enough time to actually do the time-shifted match, which we are actually going to see the 2-1 from Andrew Miller and Matthew Ratajczak. So we're going to get to see that match. We're going to try to do it in completion. We have plenty of time left in the round. We might play it on like a 2x